Hello everybody, present into this session. This is Ashish Tripathi presenting my FIP on digitization initiative on e-procurement or the e-sourcing better called into the digital supply chain or the e-SCM. The fragment e-sourcing has been selected with great aspect as to convert the digitization of the procure to pay process. We go on to the contents. About the initiative, the as is procurement scenarios, we can say as is market, what is, why e-procurement, why e-sourcing, the PRPO challenges, what come into while digitizing the concept, what will the market be after the digitization initiative is realized. The rest carried on, the PR to PO digitization benefits, and to see what tool or what way we are going to realize, make the digitization a reality. We move on to the next slide, friends. I would like to understand you all the the hybrid supply chain process, the divergent local processes in the IT applications what lead to inconsistent redundant data into corporates and ultimately creating an inefficient process in totality. The key limitations and you may say the major responsible areas are such hybrid complex mixed IT landscapes, the lack of end-to-end process integration, of course, lack of transparency, agility, and the lack of optimized usage of locations being used into the process. The labor costings even are not optimized. Grouping of tasks could be highly optimized to reduce and cut down time on by 50% of the manual process. Lengthy implementation cycles really can be reduced, and the maintenance cost which has to be worked on priority. We move on to the next slide. Why e-procurement? Why e-sourcing? So as per the global data watch from the last year, there is an opportunity to manage and optimize overall spend of around 28,000 crores across 75 plants globally and around 19,000 crores across 64 plants and 10 businesses in India itself. We got to see how the e-sourcing, which is going to be the strategic sourcing application, which will enable the buyers to come closer to suppliers, establishing sources by negotiating prices, terms and conditions for direct and indirect materials as well as services through online RFIs, RFVs, and RFQs, the request for quotations. We're gonna see the digital operating model brings in more freedom to choose the appropriate degree of centralization that supports that would support the specialization and would provide a different level of costing advantage and productivity across businesses and locations. E-procurement is the business to business purchase and the sale of supplies and the services over internet or as we may say online. The total process is what which helps professionals compare and evaluate bids and notify participants as suppliers of the event results. The trigger of this event is an expired long-term contract. The, the identification of an opportunity to rationalize the supply base and negotiate lower pricing or the new requirements, my dear friends. The three key reasons we can state to implement e-procurement are enforcing of the compliance through e-catalogs. So each and every material can be digitized, can form a menu form and could be selected for bidding, for supplying, for repetitive items. The the reducing cost for the purchasing process, really, with eliminating the paperwork, which is a major hurdle. The data accuracy, which often is further, the collaboration and the transparency of the process when reducing inventory levels, and finally the lead times. It also empowers requesters, leaving the purchasing professionals to concentrate on more value added activities than operational purchasing. So, strategic sourcing applications are different. I would like to explain from tactical or operational sourcing applications, which supports the tender of price and delivery information for short term requirement. Operational sourcing is usually delivered as a feature of the procure to pay solution. We move on to the next slide to see more into this. Next. So we're gonna see what is the as is procurement scenario at present with Ultratech. So the business the business users, the purchase department raises intent in uh, in once or repetitive times for supplier discoveries, for capex items, for services, and manages auctions also as forward and reverse towards a totally manual process. So the fixed contract with the supplier, government regulated like coal, like direct PO generations on rate contracts, some registered suppliers for repetitive items may be discovered uh, generally into a repetitive way. The initiation of the quotations take place, and finally they evaluate the quotes from these vendors and award the PO to one of the selected ones. Sometimes into capex items, direct PO and OEM vendors are as per contracts initiated, and thus the quotation initiation process for new items or the better pricing takes place. This is also manual. Then evaluation of quotes and awarding PO to the selected vendor is again the L1 taking up process is it totally the based on comparative is all a manual one. Raising intent for services, for finished products and services use definitely some catalogs. So but a direct PO based on the catalog selection is being used. So this also wanna get automated. So rate contracts libraries are used here for it. The more important part is the creation of the forward and reverse auctions, which needs to be explained really how it has been digitized and automated. We move on to the next slide to see to be market. First, we will see the key challenges of the PR to PO process. High cycle times, high time reutilized really, the approval process, the process to move on a flag to a different one. Then there is no transparency, there is no traceability. The the spend analysis is none into the manual process. It takes a lot of time to get into the spend analysis. The there is no there is no traceability while while the person is dependent on offline processes and a lot of hybrid disparate systems as we talked about, hence duplication of data and redundant systems, process and resources. We move on to the next slide. These were the key challenges. We move on to the next slide. So what is gonna to be market? So sourcing and negotiations, contracts and catalogs, the spend intelligence, the supplier life cycle management. I would like to explain the one of the very great parts is the supplier life cycle management. Once as we have already talked on negotiation and sourcing negotiations and contracts and digitizing of catalogs, the uh, um, supplier management application helps here the procurement organizations proactively to manage the supplier performance. They accomplish this by providing a means and a place to assemble, archive, and organize and leverage enterprise supply data. So the supplier data sources include the suppliers' self-services, portals as a service, online surveys, and some requests for informations too. Same wise, the spend analysis also provides an enterprise view of spending, which is critical for identifying opportunities for cost reduction, prioritizing investments in procurement, and spend analysis solution is a data cleansing and really an enhancement tool into this. We move on to the next slide. So this was the market to be with the spend analytics, dynamic dashboards, and the announcements and the document sharing into. Next. So this is a screenshot of the tool which has been finalized from the business. So we can see here different items being bidded from suppliers and the L1 being selected and the comparative after the comparative has been automatically generated before the quotations have been automatically sent and inquiry forwarded. So, so this has been all done by digitizing through this tool, cutting down about 75% of the purchasing resource personnels. We move on to the next slide to see the benefits eventual. Sorry, we would see first the risk involved. Of course, the risk of the internal business as the structure may be inappropriate or the industry is uncertain of the same. External business is also there where the suppliers are not ready to use the portal in case there are margins low defined and infrastructure cost is much for them. The technology risk is always there as the process specifications of the e-procurement technology adoption will be somewhat slow and may sometimes fail to deliver the benefits as have been expected from the system. The e-procurement process risk will also carry some risk as it will may disrupt the production or other supply chain initiatives when committing to be procurement technologies. We finally see what are the real benefits of this system. So faster cycle time, reduction by about 75%, more than 75%, I would say, faster approvals for and that too from any device. Auto comparison statements, as we said, the comparatives, transparency into the process, standardized process and controls, the historic knowledge of the spend analysis, which really includes the surveys of RFIs and RFQs, integration to the ERP, and no duplication of data there itself. And the last but not the least is the collaboration and knowledge towards the great GDW reports, the Global Data Watch reports from manufacturing segments for all components being bidded on. And yes, the procurement community finally getting benefited from largely. Thank you, sir. Thank you all for your time. Thanks.